What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Kingdom Conversations. I'm your host, Pastor Jay. Listen, we getting straight to it today. Listen, I hope that everybody had a great weekend. Most of all, I need everybody to like, share, and comment. If you go to a church, you know a pastor, you are a pastor. I need you to screen, shot this, share it, do everything. Tell Lottie Dottie, everybody. I have two amazing guests today. One is a social media influencer to the 10th power in the kingdom, and the other is probably my one of my closest friends for the past 25, 30 years. He's a gun enthusiast. He got all his guns legally. And I'm talking about my brothers. And we're going to have fun today, but we're going to talk about some very serious issues that's going to help bring some attention to what's happening in the marketplace as well as what's going on in the church. I'm talking about my boy, Tim Clinton.
Yo, what's going
and
on?
My guy, Dave Caton. What's up, man?
What's good? Salute, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Listen, we got a lot to discuss, and we don't got a lot of time to do it. But the first thing we want everybody to do is like, share, and we even are going to open up the phone lines a little bit later. So if you have any questions or comments, you'll be able to call in. Here's the number right here. We're going to flash it on the screen. You'll be able to call in at a certain point in the program. But right now, let me deal with my brothers. What's up, Tim Clinton? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm what the old saying is, I'm a squirrel trying to get a nut. That's all. All is well. You know, I've been looking, over social media for the last 24 to 48, well, it ain't even 48 hours. And the foolishness, Pastor, that I've seen, and it's getting worse and worse. I just got an article. I know this ain't my show, but we're going to talk about an article I just received from CNN.
Mm-hmm.
So it just went, a little further. But I'm glad to be here with you and my big brother, Dave.
Yes, sir.
We funny in private, and I don't think this is probably our first show ever, all three of us together do something public, but I'm ready.
Yeah. What's up, Dave Caton? How you doing, man?
I'm good. And yourself, brother?
Listen, man, any day above ground is a good day, man. So first, let me say to both of you guys, I am honored to have both of you on this platform. We all have a very close personal friendship outside of this. I speak to you guys quite often offline, but I wanted to bring you both on here because, number one, I know Tim is going to say stuff that I can't say, that I won't say. And then Dave is very knowledgeable about this gun law, the gun laws, and the process of getting licensed and all that. So I think it's something that we need to talk about. But first thing I want to talk about, guys, is what happened yesterday in a church in Brooklyn. Dave, I'll start with you. What is your take on churches having armed security?
I think, we've been advocates of this for quite some time.
Yeah.
It's a must. We protect everything else with armed security. And I think for years, there's so many incidents that have taken place in church. And now it's kind of reaching home. So, our thoughts and prayers go out to the family and the pastor that went through that. It's unfortunate, but we have to protect the sheep. It's a must. It's not even something that is questionable anymore. Mm-hmm. It's a serious issue. Things could have been worse. We've seen worse in other cases, other churches. At some point, we have to understand that the The only thing that stops a bad man with a gun is a good man with a gun.
Right. So we can't pray in the Holy Ghost and start speaking in tongues when somebody runs up in the church with a gun. We need people in there that are, number one, trained, licensed to carry, and know how to shoot. Because we don't want no innocents getting hit either. You know what I mean? What you say, Tim?
I think maybe in the last 10, 15 years, I think we've seen enough, not only just in the Black church, but I think in the church overall, that we've seen that security is needed. Yesterday, Jason, I was confused how something of that magnitude could take place and there was no security at all.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not just say not a gun in sight. I think we've seen enough where these people coming to churches, not just on the street, but they would actually come into church and create some type of habit. But for this particular thing that took place, no one had a gun after, and I don't know if we inside the conversation yet. I don't want to move too fast.
No, go ahead, go.
But I was amazed, Caden, that a pastor, and he's very public on how he moves, very, flashy. And like, and my thing is, if that's what you want to be, that's what you want to be. But especially in that type of environment, in a big city like a New York or California or Chicago, or even places like Atlanta, I think bigger cities, have more crime, have, places where you would need protection if you're going to move around the way you move around, especially if you're going to do it in a public space like an Instagram, Gucci and the Fendi, and you're doing it in neighborhoods where the average person can't afford that.
Right.
We talk about Flatbush, Brooklyn, like probably one of the roughest parts of Canarsie.
Yeah.
And so for him to be in a church storefront situation and to be 400,000 K worth of jewelry, and we don't have one single, not even, forget the security. New York is known for goons. You didn't have a goon sitting in the audience that was, even if his gun was illegal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So something was real weird about that, Dave. So I don't know how y'all feel about that.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at everything everybody's saying online, and as a pastor, I am cognizant of the need, because when I was on Nostrand Avenue, my building, you could only get 120 people in there.
I was there.
And I had armed security there on the premises, because of the neighborhood that we were in. I did my demographical studies on the crime rate in that neighborhood, and I knew that I needed someone inside. And I got a lot of COs that go to my church and different things. So there's a couple of people in my church that's strapped already, but I hired an armed security guard to sit amongst the people. Nobody really knew who he was, but my thing is this, because I'm seeing a lot, some people saying it was staged, it looked fake, but my thing is whether it really happened. And I pray, because I got a relationship with some of the musicians that play there. I'm cool with the pastor, his wife, and I wouldn't want anything to happen to them. But if it was real, or even if it was staged, here's my thing. Now we have to worry about copycats, because somebody saw that that's in that lifestyle that says, oh, we could run up in churches now. Because years ago, that would never happen. Never. Nobody would. I mean, the drunks used to put the liquor behind their back when they walked by the church, cigarettes behind the back. But now these people are seeing prime time that, yo, it's okay to run up in the church and tell everybody to get down on the floor and do what they're going to do. So I don't know. I'm a little concerned either way. You know, I pray that everybody's okay. But if it was real or staged or whatever people are saying, I'm just concerned for copycats now. Dave?
Well, it's two points I want to speak to. Initially, Tim was saying, he was talking about the actual area, the demographics, and the things that were being displayed, right? Us, all three of us being creatives, producers, so forth. We are all solution based. We try to find answers. So, going forward, because I can't really speak to the mindset of somebody just said something on the thing of it being $1 million worth of jewelry or whatever the case may be. The scriptures say everything that's lawful is not expedient.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we could revisit or readjust, you don't dangle a steak in front of a tiger or a hungry lion.
Right.
So the Caribbean people used to say, don't eat with your mouth open. You don't need everybody to see what you're chewing on.
Right.
Right. And so one of the things I always think, you want to think conflict avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
Conflict avoidance, to avoid, a conflict. You dangling stakes, and yeah, if we work hard for the things that we have, blah blah blah, we want to wear it. We want to, but at some point, you have to understand when you do that, you may be attracting a certain energy. If you put that invitation out there, don't be surprised when it RSVP.
Right.
So in being solution based, that's something that we all should kind of be aware of, because and then you said, Pastor, about whether some people are speculating, could be real, could be fake, could be what have you. Either way, you got the copycat situation, and then you also have people who have been traumatized
right
by it.
Right.
So we have to kind of really try to look at what could we do and how could we push things forward. It's so many lessons to unpack in all,
because here's where I had a conflict at, y'all. Because just last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, everybody in New York, especially the church folk, was screaming, "Take the guns away! Take the guns away!" Oh, they barred. You can't carry guns here. You can't carry guns in places of worship. Now that this happened yesterday, the same people are saying we need somebody with a gun in the church. Now, I'm going to let you have the floor here, Dave, because people don't realize to get licensed to carry legally, first of all, y'all should not even be worried about the wrong type of people getting licensed, because they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. Dave, can you please speak to the people about what it takes to actually get licensed? Because you got about 35 of them, so.
Don't judge me.
No, nobody. Let me tell y'all. Let me put this out there. Y'all see all that equipment? Don't y'all run it and
you ain't lying.
Don't do it, because you're gonna come out looking like Swiss cheese. But you didn't hear that from me. Go ahead, Pastor K.
Well, in the state of New York, what they're doing now is, New York used to be a may issue state, which is completely unconstitutional. We may give you your rights if we feel that you deserve it. And so you have to jump through all of these hoops to get your thing in New York. And most of the time, 98% of the time, they would not give it to the average person. You had to be a celebrity or someone that's bringing in at least $5,000 cash.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So now there's so many civil rights violations on there. You're talking elitism, classism, racism, all isms.
Right.
And so now the Supreme Court forced New York to not even they didn't give us a new gun law. They just removed their unconstitutional law that was suppressing the people. And so, but even in order to do that, you have to not be a felon, of course. So you're going to get a federal and state background check. You have to have at least 4 personal references. They're going to send emails to 4 people that can't be family members. What else they want? They want you to have 16 hours of time on the range. You have to do the same thing that the cops pass to carry their guns. You have to have 16 hours of training in the class, and you have to have 2 hours of live fire on the range. And when you break that up in time, that could be a month or 2 months with all of that time, because nobody's going to stay at the range with an instructor for 16 hours straight.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to have a personal interview, and that interviewer will deem if you are worthy or eligible to carry in New York.
So what you're saying, Dave, is no matter what the laws have been passed or taken away, getting a licensed gun in New York is not as easy as people think it is.
No. And after you do that, after the courses and after the training and after, you will understand what you can do, how you can use your firearm in a self-defense situation. And you will also understand that after you use said firearm, you still going to have to go through the ringer. So you have to have insurance for that, because after you are involved in an active shooting, you may have other people suing you civilly. It's so many ramifications behind, and most law-abiding citizens understand these things. This is not a fly-by-night situation where, we're going to give people in New York guns and they're just going to turn into the Wild Wild West. It's not going to happen that way.
Right. And I think that that's so important, because these different narratives that are being put out, I think people are just, you have to really look out, and Tim can talk to us about this, about how quick sensationalism poisons people, how it makes people formulate opinions in areas they may be uneducated in, such as, I won't say his name, but there's a certain blogger that came against Bishop Jakes, because Bishop Jakes, again, most people will only see a snippet of a message and develop an opinion from a 30-second clip versus watching a 15-minute message, and said that Bishop Jakes was antiquated, that Bishop Jakes, we don't want to hear you no more, because Bishop Jakes said that we were raising our young women to be men. And there was a lot more that he said in that clip, but this said blogger came on, matter of fact, I'll say his name, Larry Reed. We ain't scared. Larry Reed called Bishop Jakes out and was like, yo, Bishop Jakes.
Can I curse on here? Oh, my bad.
No, you cannot cuss on here.
All right.
But I respect Larry Reed. I love what Larry Reed does. He made a brand for himself, but I didn't like that he called Bishop Jakes out like that. Why are we seeing that happening now, Tim?
Well, you gotta be able to go in and out of what this new agenda, not just Reed, and I'm not saying this is Reed, but a lot of those that we consider maybe kingdom are creating space for something new to be the forefront of the church. Because I've been knowing Reed a long time, to be honest. Reed used to be my son in the Lord. Everything.
Wait a minute. Wait. You can't say something like that. And we not. Are you saying on Kingdom Conversations that Larry Reed used to be your son in the Lord?
Jason. It wouldn't be no Reed without me.
Y'all heard? Listen, this is breaking news. If I could get the alarm,
and this is no disrespect. I mean,
yeah,
they grew up watching me.
Because a lot of y'all don't know, Tim was on the radio in Cleveland on one of the biggest radio stations in the country, Radio 1000. And he used to get me in trouble twice a month. But we're not going to talk about that. But go ahead.
And Larry Reed was a daily watcher. And at that time, he was Apostle Larry Reed. And he was buying, he had his church broadcast used to come on Radio 1000 out of Charlotte, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It had nothing to do with blogging or whatever. So I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way, but that used to be my son. But the point I'm making is we got to look at these new people that have influence, and people are going to start subscribing to the influencers, regardless if it's truth or not. The influence is going to be truth. And so when I look, they're going to get mad at me when I say this. And I can't say it, Pastor Jay, because you're in the area. But when I see certain voices that hang around these influencers, and what I see what they now stand for, but at one point they didn't stand for it. I say, okay. Even when I see, I'm gonna say his name, Carlton Pearson. Carlton Pearson said that the New Testament is outdated. That we should start creating a third testament. He said that live on a panel discussion.
Wow. And
so when I see, that camp, it's a camp. You have to pay attention to the camp. I said, okay, I can clearly see what they're trying to do. It's nothing new. I mean, throughout every age, you're always going to be the one that's trying to create some new agenda to feel like they're pushing a culture. You get what I'm saying? So for him to come against T.D. Jakes is really a little bigger than him coming, because the average, let's go beyond a millennial, let's just deal with the next generation. They will be against Bishop T.D. Jakes.
Right.
So Reed is actually siding with the hip hop, the shade room, the Jasmine Bland, and the spiritual world. All those people that operate on these social sites, they would actually agree with Larry Reed concerning that, because these women today honestly feel they don't really need a man in order to operate, survive. And in certain, that's a whole different argument. But for Reed to be a senior to come against Bishop Jakes, because he grew up in that day, that kind of confused me. So I don't know.
I was concerned with it. Here's the reason why. Because those same people will preach that we're all equal until there's a crisis. And this goes back to the Titanic. When the Titanic was going down, what did they say? Women and children first. Mm-hmm. Whenever there's a crisis, even like what happened Saturday, everybody is saying, where was the men at? But if we're equal, shouldn't have the women have stood up? If we're equal, shouldn't the men have been able to get up the Titanic at the same time as the women and children, if we're all equal? So we understand equality until there's a crisis. And whenever there's a crisis, then we see the disparity and the difference between men and women. And my response to Larry Reed and whoever else feels that way, and let's take Larry Reed. I think what he's been able to build as a social media influencer is amazing. But in his enterprise, Larry Reed Enterprises, for what he said to be true, that would suggest that there's no hierarchy in his company. So let's say Tim, you got Tim Clinton Enterprise, Dave got CMG. You guys have gone to school. You guys have invested $100,000 in your business, and you decide to hire a janitor off the street to clean up your said building. If we're all equal, does that janitor have the same authority in your company that you do?
But you know what? I get what you're saying, but I think the real argument, Jay, is they're trying to the whole relational piece.
They're trying to eliminate masculinity.
Yes.
And they're calling it, and they're trying to label it as toxic masculinity.
Yes.
When the truth is, just like, because I was tiptoeing around it, but let's get right to it. The problem is when there are women that have submitted to men that don't understand, not equal does not mean not important. And I, as a man, have to have enough grace to understand the authority that God has given me and to be able to administer walking with a woman that is my wife, my girlfriend, whoever, and understand that because I am the head doesn't give me a green light to be abusive or dismissive or talk down to. But for you to say that men and women are equal, it goes against the very nature of what God set up. Because there's things that a man can do that a woman can't do, and there's definitely things biologically that a woman can do that a man can never do. So how are we the same? Pastor Caton?
Yeah, go ahead, Pastor.
No, go ahead, Tim. You was getting ready to say something. I feel you in the spirit, your grace.
You know, I think a lot of it is stemming from the success rate of our people, because really we're really only speaking to a particular culture of people. Because if we really shift, you ain't gonna really get white women to think the way black women think. Black ladies, please don't troll me. Don't troll me. But it's really a certain demographic of people are having this conversation. And
yes.
And here's the thing, ladies, it's an absolutely incredible thing how successful and how black women were able to, look past this, conquer this, and be able to be successful in areas that really wasn't known for years for black women to be successful in. When it came to corporate America, owning their own businesses. Even when we look at the church, when I see women becoming, certain things in the church that at one point they wasn't allowed. They was barely even allowed to walk in the pulpit.
Right.
And so what's happening now, the women are like, okay, I got more money than you. I got more my education. I'm the breadwinner. So you mean to tell me you the head over what house? What? This is matter of fact, I pay for this house.
Right.
You don't make half as much as money as me. And so
right.
that could be, if we're gonna play a little devil advocate, where this could actually stem from, and I can almost agree. That's why I always tell people, and people disagree, but I'm like, hey, you actually really need to date on your level, or someone that may not be on the level that you on, and y'all can come up together.
That's good.
But when you're dealing with somebody, especially if she's a woman and she has absolutely if she okay with where you at, that's one thing. But if she expecting something from you that you don't have and you can't provide it, I wouldn't do it. So that's why I think that could stem from.
Because here's the thing. A woman will only date potential, but for so long. If you don't become, there is a certain because and y'all can correct me when I'm wrong, Dave. You a lot wiser than me when it comes to relationships, but I believe that men are driven by ego stroking, and women are driven by security. So it's going to be hard for any woman to respect a man that got to keep coming to her for lunch money every day. Because by the atmosphere, you are saying that you need me to survive. And you ain't going to be bossing me around if I'm the key to your survival. Because psychologically, something's going to go off. I'm like, hold on. bro. You in my pockets every day.
And Jay, I'm gonna let you go, Caden. And I mean, just think about it. Say he made 200,000 a year, but if she make 2 million, you still you get what I'm saying. So it's still gotta be a balance because that's what's really being pushed. I know the old school is gonna get upset, but we have to go with what this is the reality of how these people and these kids are thinking. It's money driven. Okay. If you don't have the money, the relationship is not going to work. Now you might look up and find you an old school OG from the 90s and the R&B era that went based off love and kicking it and going out having dates and watching TV, sitting on the phone, ain't talking about nothing. That person almost they don't really exist.
You hang up. No, you hang up.
Yeah,
no, you hang up.
There it is. They don't know about that.
They don't do that no more, Doc.
They don't know about that, Jay. They don't know nothing about that. See, we got to deal with the TikTok, Instagram, trap music. And these kids nowadays, I'm gonna let Kaiten go. They are influenced by the Megan Thee Stallion, the Cardi B's,
Sister Stallion.
Oh yeah!
Oh Jesus!
You gotta think, man. Cardi B was a major influence in the presidential election.
It's very true.
Because they
Apostle
knew the
Greaves. What's up, Apostle Greaves?
Hey, Apostle. So the kids is not really following the TDJs. They following the baby. They following in Lil Durk. They got. I mean, we can laugh and say, he's a rat, but
I don't know who these people are. I'm apostolic. We don't listen to that kind of stuff.
I'm trying to get
that kind of stuff at my church. Cardi B, who? Little Durk. I don't know these people.
Yes. Yeah. So that's where I just feel like we are right now. And I'm not saying that there has to be some type of compromise, but when it comes to the faith, I honestly don't really see a world influence, and it's very light outside of Mike Todd.
Wow.
That can actually speak to both worlds where it's a respect level. And I'm not saying, listen, I ain't jumping on Reed's side to act like what he said about Jakes. Jakes can be wrong, and I'm going to still figure out a way to make it right.
Right.
Jakes is going down as my all-time favorite black preacher that ever lived. We're going to leave Jakes. I don't care what come out on Jakes. I don't care what y'all. I'm fighting for Jakes, okay? But the current climate that we live in, we have to be able to say when it comes to the current generation, not those that's 35 and up, but the skip the millennials. I'm sick of talking about the millennials anyway. The millennials are done. It's over with. It's the
millennials is 40 years old now, so they're not kids no more.
Why we keep talking about this? Like, the millennials is this, millennials is that. We are so past that age. These kids now, matter of fact, if we go back, the millennials didn't rob the pastor.
No.
It was kids. So go ahead, Kate.
Go ahead, David Kate.
Y'all said so much to unpack. I'm trying to remember some of the things. Clinton talked about the dating piece. Then y'all talked about the millennials. Then y'all talked about Lord. But one of the things about dating, I think that root is data, collecting data. I think we spend a lot of time and a lot of emphasis on the romantic side of things. And when you're so caught up in that, you're not able to find out the things that you really need to know and then manage your expectations. Respect is not given, it's earned, right? And so you have to earn someone's respect. To Tim's point, he talked about dating on your level or a little above. It's important to manage your expectations and have those conversations. And then, Pastor, to your point about someone submitting and tired of being, well, I think you said attracted to potential.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great point, because at some point it's no longer about your potential, it's about your credentials.
Yes, sir.
Your credit.
Yeah.
And that's your credit is built by your works, not what you say you're going to do.
That's right.
So at some point potential runs out and now we base things on your credential. So when you get a new credit card, they give you that credit card based on your potential, what you say you can pay. You
Yes.
say you're going to be on time. And so after a while, once you build that, then that establishes your credentials.
And that's where you get increase.
See?
Right.
And so a lot of the things that we look at, romance is easy. And then to Tim's point, then you're talking about things being transactional. Because if it's about money, I look at that as prostitution.
Right.
Wow.
That's what it is. It's a transactional relationship.
I agree. And I am a strong component against transactional relationships that are misplaced.
Sure.
I think they're necessary, but they have to be put in the correct compartments in your life, because we were created to be relational, not transactional. But go ahead, Pastor.
Good.
Go ahead.
Now, when you get into that, what changes when, if it's all physical, that starts to diminish, and the man's libido is still there? Then I can pay for the best that money can buy.
Mm-hmm.
And you are no longer, so we're going to trade you in for a newer model with less miles.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the cycle and the rule, so a lot of those things go back into, I think it's cultural, it's domestic. How are we raising, the children? What is the mindset of the young man and the young woman? And what we're putting into the children, that will determine the type of relationships that we're having. And it's so unfortunate. All of this stuff is tied in and it all overlaps. Why we do some of the things that we do. I'm a firm believer of it's not about what's on you, it's about what's in you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people, before the internet, you could identify people, what state they were from, by how they dressed. Who was from up north, who was from the south, who was this and that. The internet has made everything just one. Everybody just themselves from Gucci from head to toe. But what exactly does that mean?
Right.
And then you have a culture of, there's so much to unpack. We got to look at what are the standards that we set in our society to deem success. What is success in my pastor's eyes? What is success in my father's eyes?
Right.
That way, I know once I've done that, I've reached. Is success a Gucci bag, a Louis bag, a Fendi? What is, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that will kind of change and move the needle forward a little bit, because fettuccine Alfredo tastes a little bit different in Austria, than it does
here,
Lennox.
Right.
No disrespect to Lennox.
Right.
I.e., there's other, you know what I mean? There's other things in life that's more important than being super flashy and flamboyant and,
But the thing that bothers me is over opinionated, underexposed people. Because if your exposure is to your local demographic, then the church itself, the world itself, is bigger than Brooklyn. It's bigger than Florida. It's bigger than Panama. It's bigger than wherever you may be from. But if that's all you've been exposed to, that's going to be your opinion. And I think that it's crazy how social media gives such a big voice to people that have been underexposed. We have been blessed to travel extensively, in and abroad, lived overseas and all this stuff. So our opinion is a little bit more broader, but when people tend to, make blanket statements about the church, about, the changes and different things like that. And I want Tim to touch on this. The changes that I see with the church, is this something that we should just let happen? Because I'm looking at, people can say what they want to say, but I watched the Nation of Islam for a lot of ideas about order, a lot of ideas about structure, a lot of ideas of how to attract men to follow leadership. I don't see a lot of that in church like I do in the Nation of Islam, but I look at how the church has made all these changes, the way our churches look like a nightclub. Some churches still got the wood panel on the wall. Some churches got LED screens. Some have no screens. The Nation of Islam ain't changing nothing, but maybe the color paint. And we're losing people by droves. On Sunday morning, everybody in their church looking around like, yo, what's happening? And the Nation, their meetings are still jam-packed to capacity. Are these changes something that we should just accept and not go like toe-to-toe with to say, nah, we doing the most right now?
I'm gonna say a couple of things, and I hope I don't sound too spiritual, but I mean what I say. I think that the church is going through the biggest identity crisis we probably ever seen.
Yes,
in the history of the church. And when we say the body of Christ, I don't want to speak to the body of Christ as a whole. I just want to deal with our small sector when we look at the Black church. I think we're in the danger zone because, and Pastor Jay, I ain't coming for you, but the clergy that we see today, I think they have lost focus of the promise of God, and they have set that to the side to live their best life. See, once the promise is like no longer, see, we used to talk about heaven, and I can't wait to see him, and we used to sing songs that say, once this time is over, I'm going to another place, streets of gold. But now these guys that I look at as seniors, they have removed bishop, they have removed pastor, they have removed elder, and now they becoming life coaches. Like when you look at their bios, you don't even know if they're pastors anymore. You don't even know if they're ministers. That I can't even remember the last time I even heard evangelist such and such was even coming to town.
right.
And so now we have to deal with this identity thing because a lot of these guys have missed their time. And so now they're like, I'm trying to rebuild at 50. I'm trying to rebuild at 60. So I'm going to change my theology. I'm going to change how I present. That's why you see, and I'm not knocking the OGs that do it, but when you see, I'll be looking at some of these older guys, I'm like, you really wearing that at 65 years old? Because they're trying to recreate something that they think that they have missed. And so, now you're going to see a lot of ripped jeans in the pulpits. You don't really see people wearing suits.
No.
I remember the first time I seen somebody wear a hat in the sanctuary. You mean to tell me you came into church with your hat on
And left it on, Doc.
And left it on? So now they're wearing hats in the pulpits, and then you got a this really about to shift. Now we are adopting from a whole different culture because we feel like they are pulling in numbers. We would never ever put a smoke machine in the sanctuary.
No.
But the white man is doing it.
Right. We depended on the glory cloud.
Yeah. we removing the tambourines. We taking out a prayer. I mean, the lineup back in the day was Tuesday night prayer, Wednesday night Bible class. If you was a part of the choir, you had Thursday night. Now, Sunday to Sunday, hopefully they may have a Bible class. There ain't no auxiliary boards. They are not, and we're trying to figure
small
out
small groups. That's
it's small groups. You see, we're trying to grab stuff from the world and try to implicate it with what we think we got going on. And I'm not saying that's not a bad idea, but it's very corny. So I think that the church needs an upgrade, a remodel, and I think these new pastors that's coming up, if they got a clear foundation, a clean slate, they cannot use the old model of the church in order to build. It's not going to work.
Yeah,
you know.
I
And so
agree.
that's just how I feel. I don't really like what I see when it comes to this new model of church or how whatever we look at the church as today. I can't stand it.
I think what has happened is the church has started chasing relevance more than being salt. Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth."
Mm-hmm.
Anything that salt touches, it overpowers. So if I'm salt, I don't have to chase relevance, because if I show up being who Jesus said I am, I'm taking over anyway. I'm going to be the most prominent in the room anyway. But we got guys that's 500 pounds, and nothing against, guys that are big, wearing jeans that look like they painted them on in lieu of trying to be relevant, knowing that you remember back in the days, the Gap commercial with the girl trying to put the jeans on. She got to fall back on the bed, kick her legs up in the air to squeeze the jeans. we got guys that are doing that now, all in the name of being relevant. And I just think the church has to get back to focusing on being salt. And I'm not saying that you got to be like Sam Jackson and wear a Kangol turned backwards with your dress shirt tucked in your jeans and wearing jeans with church shoes. No, you can still have swag, but I think there has to be some type of limit to how far we're willing to go.
Hey, Jay, let me. I agree with wanting to be relevant if that relevance is connected to your call.
Right.
See,
I'm not saying nothing against relevance. I'm just saying that when you chase being salt, you never lose your relevance ever, because when you give somebody salty French fries, it creates a thirst. And if you the one that got the drink, feed me, dog.
I agree.
Also, salt, when you put it on fresh meat, it's a preservative. It saves. Isn't that the job of the pastor, the preacher, to preach the gospel so that people can be saved?
Agree.
Not so that you can be swagged out and hip and have all this other stuff. So when we chase being salt, the other thing because none of us want to be a failure. Let's be. Dave is one of the best producers. That's my son in the Lord. And Larry Reed and Just David Caton is my son in the Lord. And we're gonna clear that up right here on this broadcast today. Because you're gonna start. I want Father's Day cards from you. And
He's my spiritual godfather. I can't.
No, not Godfather. We're not gonna. I don't play that Godfather stuff. No.
No hyphens.
No hyphens. No, we don't hyphenate over here in this part of glory. I'm your spiritual father, and I want to be recognized as such. But Dave does not produce to give out a sound that's antiquated. Right. So he makes the necessary adjustments to be able to produce in this climate. But at the same token, I know that there's certain foundational things that he's never going to eliminate because it just works. It worked for Quincy Jones. It's going to work for David Caton. You know what I mean? And if you check out a Quincy Jones mix when they were doing 2-inch, it's killing some of the mixes that are out right now. Killing. So there's some things that are from the old time way that we don't need to eliminate. But again, this pandemic has showed us that there are some things we need to get rid of.
And Pastor, and I know Caton about to go. That's why I hate to say this on your show.
Go ahead, man of God.
But that's why I'm not completely sold on Maverick City.
Whoa, hey. We gotta go to commercial.
On here.
Well, man, we'll talk about that on the whole.
We gotta go to commercial. Wait a minute, Tim Clinton.
You heard it here first. Go ahead.
You heard it here first. Tim Clinton is not sold on what now?
Maverick City.
Oh, Jesus.
I enjoy the music. I enjoy the people that's on the stage. But I'm starting to discern racist undertones.
Oh, Jesus. This is where I let y'all go forth. Because I preach for a lot of white churches. So y'all go ahead.
Because here's the thing. For years, I always asked myself, what is really the sound of gospel music?
All right, come on.
Amen, Sister Verna. You preaching right here.
I always said, when you go as far as back as I can't really go back. I can really have a conversation when you deal with the Dorsey and the GMWA. I think that's even going on this week. I ain't been in none of that stuff in years. And when you see those like the Kirk Franklins, the Yolanda Adams, and the Saps, and the McClurkins, and the Hezekiah Walkers, and those, and no matter, even if they had different styles, it still fit under the umbrella of gospel music.
Right.
So then you see a group, not of people, but I look a little past the music on the why is there such a collaboration now? Because at one point they had their thing, the Doves. We had our thing, Stellar Awards. I remember at one point, Kirk Franklin really kind of confused me at this moment, but that's a whole nother conversation because he spoke against the Dove Awards publicly in a negative light.
Mm-hmm.
Concerning Black people. And so when I look at some of the artists, that's the Black, let's deal with the Black people I sing with Maverick City. And the two guys that, we know each other, but I don't have a relationship, like most other artists may have. But if I see them, what's going on? But they got white wives. And so I see.
Where you going, Caton? Where are you going, David? David Caton. You sit down, David Caton, in the name of Jesus. You sit down. Because he's very pro CCM. But go ahead.
I'm ready to get y'all. Let's go.
And so hey, listen, I love CCM. But when I look at this, I was like, and I see the brilliance of the white man when I see how it's packaged. It makes a lot of money sense because if the Black church want to be us so bad in a non-authentic way, because CCM is just not playing 4 or 5 chords and just think we have adopted the sound. No, it's a way they're playing it. It's the approach. It's the different sounds that they use in order for them to create what they create. When I see this, it's like, I'm like, man, this white man is amazing. Because let's grab this person, let's grab that person, and let's get Kirk Franklin. And so now everybody's thinking like Kirk Franklin is a father to Maverick City, like they needed him in order to be relevant.
No, they were doing stadiums before Kirk.
Yeah, Kirk Franklin needed them. But go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in some areas when it comes to music, I try to be colorblind because I appreciate all of it. Now, in the case of this whole CCM battle, or if a particular music comes from a particular culture, that's just the obvious. if we go get the Arab music with the Indian, we know that that's primarily coming from that culture. So music is cultural, but I think for me, I gauge singers on three things: um, the instrument, which is the tone of their voice, the musical intelligence, and emotional range. You know, and if you think of any of your favorite singers, they all encompass those three things, right? So when you take a Dolly Parton song, here go an example for all of the CCM haters. The song that was one of our biggest songs ever by our national treasure, Whitney Houston. What is that? And I Will Always Love You. That is a song written by Dolly Parton, who was a white country singer, which is what, if you was gonna, is kind of what you would equate that CCM, because CCM comes from that country writing, that style of whatever. Once Whitney Houston and Dave Foster put their hands on it, it turned into a whole different thing because of the emotional range of Whitney Houston, because of the instrument. And in that case, it worked out for everybody because that was a hit way before Whitney Houston touched it. I Will Always Love You was written by Dolly Parton, I believe, in 1978.
Yeah.
So it was already a hit. Now, when Whitney Houston revisited it, it hit our demographic and our culture and the world over. So now more people were able to be exposed to that particular message. And of course, Whitney was blessed by it. So was Dolly Parton, the writer, and David Foster, the producer. So I don't really look at color when it comes to that sort of thing. I just think it's what you use it for. Just because you're moving in a certain direction, you don't now bring in the keyboard and throw away the organ. Talking about this is the sound of heaven, give me strings, because everybody seems to want to go into this euphoric state of worship. And that's really dopamine being released. It's the drug, it's the pleasure drug. So when Tim Clinton start playing them strings forwards and backwards and doing all of that, he's releasing dopamine.
Because let me tell you something, Pastor Caton. This Tim Clinton was playing, as my mother would say, a rock and roll song the other day. And I'm telling you, it was one of them R&B classics. And by the time he finished, my hands was like this, like,
Yes, Tim.
I love you.
So we gotta really look at, you know, the emotional range of what, and so that's the interpretation. So Clint, to your question, to your point, rather, when it's like, you know, we're singing these songs and we doing this and that, I believe it's just about the message. I think that the message is bigger. There's some songs that I'm introduced that are old songs that I grew up on that are absolutely amazing, that most people in our culture will never ever hear unless I introduce it to them. But I do it in a way where they can use it as a tool for their own personal worship. But another thing you raised, Tim, is what is the sound of gospel? And unfortunately, if you've given away your own heritage and your own sound, you can't be mad at someone else. That's a personal dilemma. People get up there and dog CCM and make these racist comments unaware. I don't think they mean to be racist, but when you're saying CCM, you're primarily talking about white people, right? And you make, you know, this, and that. And if white people were on Facebook and Instagram and so forth, making statements about our music and pointing out all of the things that they don't like about our music, whether it be theologically incorrect, so forth and so on. How
You're not gonna come against these songs. I see where you're going.
I'm just saying.
Because Jesus on the main line, it worked for me. You say what you want to say.
Call him up. Tell
him what you want, son. He's on the main line. When? Now.
I'm not gonna go there because you already accused me of, you know. But what I am saying is, when you give up your own heritage and your own culture, You can't be mad at something else. These people didn't beg us or ask us to sing their songs.
I'm giving you that.
Yeah, that's the
They
truth.
never put a gun to our head. They never said, we're gonna hold your checks if you. We decided to give up our culture. I can't hate English, Jay and Tim, because my native tongue is Spanish as a Panamanian, and I never learned it and I never passed it on. That's my fault.
Right.
All of the guys that love hymns and talking all this stuff about hymns and all these pastors, first of all, your churches don't even sing them. Then another 70% don't even play them the right way.
Right.
So, but the point is, if you want hymns, who's stopping you from doing it? Teach it in your rehearsal.
Right.
So there's a tremendous, to Tim's point, identity crisis. And when you don't know who you are, then it's a fatherless culture. Today we respect and honor Bishop Jakes. Tomorrow we talking about him like he's one of our equals.
Right.
And one of the things I want to say about that is we make these jokes, we put out these memes, we do all this stuff about church. And I'm talking about every Monday, you can count on having a good laugh at what happened over the weekend.
Right.
Well, beloved, the church is not the only people that's looking. The streets is looking too.
Yeah.
And churches are soft targets. There was years ago where you would never do that in some churches. You walk in there and try to do that mess, and the power of God would arrest you at the door.
Yes,
or those
sir.
mothers would.
Right.
Now, because we tear down our artists, we tear down our leaders, we have all different types of theories and doctrines and whatever, nobody respects the church. And it's now becoming evident by way of violence.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that, I don't know if the damage is there, it was too late, but I mean, everything. We just last week, it was this. And that's why we said, it's so crazy right now. Anything that go on may have a 24 to 72 hour lifespan.
That's
and
it.
then we go on to the next thing.
That's it.
5 minutes ago, we was on Auntie Kim.
Right.
Now today, we on this. And then tomorrow, only God knows.
Well, they back on Kim today.
I mean, she might get a week.
Yeah.
No, they back on her today. She was at somebody's church singing that new Beyonce song.
Well, you can't break my soul. You can't. Tim, this is why I don't like talking to you. That lady was not at nobody's church singing.
Stand by, please.
Tim, please don't you do this to me.
Well, speaking of that, Pastor Jim. Now, I'm not anti-pastor. However, what level or what degree do you pastors, or is there any level of accountability for what the world may perceive is going on, or the lack of respect?
I think it completely falls on us and the perception that we have presented to people, because what she did at Khan's church, she would never do at Bishop Jakes' church. She would never do that at CCC, because the perception is a place of honor. I know as an artist and a traveling preacher, when I go in certain places, I read that room quick, and I know what I should and should not say, what to stay away from, what to address.
Wow.
I know that as soon as I get in the room, because your spirit connects with the culture of the house. So
That's
if
big.
you're in a house where the leader is disrespectful to the parishioners, there's nothing you won't do, because number one, you don't live there. You just there for a visit. So you'll go buck wild, versus if you come to CCC, you're going to be acting borderline like you from the Nation of Islam. because it's a disciplined atmosphere. And you know, if you say anything crazy, you and your gifted behind is about to get tossed out. Your mic gonna get cut off, and you're gonna be blackballed from
That's
that
big.
circle.
That's powerful.
So she did what she did because that's, and I mean, whether it's joking or not, that's the culture of the ministry. So people know when you come to my church, go to this church, don't do nothing off because Hendrickson will get you. He'll cut your mic off. He'll stop you midstream from preaching. You say something off, and we can handle it however you want to handle it. But some churches, they think that stuff is funny, and people go through hell all week. You think I'm bringing you in to have you come and abuse my people? And that's not what I do? Nah, bro. Nah. So I blame the pastors. That is nobody's fault but the pastors for that.
Karn, we blame you, Karn.
That's his fault, and that's because that's the culture of his house. And just because you a pastor don't mean you can say whatever you want to say. Because there's a day coming when people are going to get, pastors are going to get handled for misappropriating the authority and the influence that God has given you. You should be building the culture of love and respect, and anybody that comes to minister at your church should pick that up when they get there and act accordingly. Anytime you see somebody doing something off, it's because that's the spirit of the leader.
Wow.
But then who checks these people?
That's why every pastor should have a pastor.
Yeah, but see, it's almost
and for us to say you don't need a pastor is a slap in the face of God, because the Bible says, and I gave you some, the fivefold ministry. I didn't give you all. So you have to figure out, are you sitting under one of the some? Because it's not all.
Work, Jay.
And when you are sitting under someone that's not part of the sum, anything goes, bro. But when you are a shepherd after God's heart, you love God's people. You honor God's people. You don't fleece them. You don't abuse them. You don't talk down to them. You may not be perfect, but there's just certain things you're not going to do. Period. Point blank. When you are a part of the sum, when you just one of these guys that got your degree online for $75 and never trained and never sat under leadership that's going to pastor you because of your soul, not your gift. Pastor you because of where you're going to spend eternity, not because you can move a house or attract money. You move different, Doc, but these guys, they're not pastorable. Nobody can pastor these guys. The Bible calls them bastards. They're wild bastards. And that's why wild things happen in their ministries, at their churches. And then they'll get online and try to get all uppity and tough with you. At the end of the day, brother, that stuff is not happening in churches where there's order. It's just not. Because I don't care who you are. You come to my church, do that, I'm shutting your mic off, because we really don't need you to sing. We brought you here because we want you to sing. Not because we want you to preach, need you to preach. We want you to preach. You understand? So when you look at that, I hold every pastor that we see these videos of this foolishness happening, it's the pastor's fault. Point blank.
And so what you're saying is that's why the congregation was just so open to receive, is because that's what they're used to.
Bro, if you eating baby food every day and I come and give you brand new baby food, you're not going to get sick. But if I come and give you some steak and all you've been eating is baby food, you're going to regurgitate. You're going to get sick. You're going to throw up because that's not your diet. So structure and order is not the order in a lot of these churches. Abuse, loose atmospheres, rebuke with no reproof. Because don't get me wrong, there has to be rebuke and correction. But when it gets to an abusive thing where you calling people dumb and stupid over the pulpit, and somehow, do you live in trailer parks? Do you not know that trailer parks are real estate that appreciate, that have value?
Wow.
And then you talking about people got a PPP loan and you got one too? Nah. No. You can't do that. And then you got a cluster of people that are afraid to say something. And this has always been my issue with church, that people will not say something and they don't even have a connection with the individual that's guilty. They won't say nothing for the potential of the connection.
Wow.
They don't even have the connection.
Wow.
But I'm afraid to say something because maybe I will become their friend. Maybe they'll invite me on their platform. Maybe they'll come to my church. But at the end of the day, right is right, man. It don't matter who it is. And we say it in love, but don't think because you have a certain platform and influence that you can just say whatever you want to say. If you're wrong, if you are the president of the United States, you're wrong. It doesn't matter.
So you're saying accountability, and herein lies one of the problems. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
Woo. It's gonna corrupt, and then there's no checks and balances, and everyone can say and do what it is that they want to do and go unchecked. And this breeds a level of disrespect, bro.
Yeah.
And everyone hurts because the whole body looks crazy. And but I think it stems from a lot of things. You have to ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? Because if you actually gave most preachers or anybody in any field financial freedom, would they continue doing what they're doing?
Only if it's their assignment.
And
because
that's so important to me, to know what your assignment and your purpose is in life. Because if you had complete financial freedom, would you still be telling people to come out and get on this $1,000 line and do this and exercise your faith? And that? Why is things different, and the way you prophesy to certain people different than the way you prophesy to others, and all this other kind of stuff? If you really had the money that you wanted, bruh, is that how God is really speaking in this service?
Right. Because I honestly believe that God doesn't speak as much as we say he does. You talking about a God that was silent for 400 years. The intertestamental period, God was completely silent. His actions spoke for him. But every time we turn around, it's like almost like God is schizophrenic. Like he's saying this one day, he's saying something this. It's just crazy. But this is what happens when you have unbridled and unmanageable leadership that doesn't understand. And this is why a lot of these guys are getting kicked in the tail in their churches, because whatever seed you sow while following determines the harvest you get when you become the leader. And a lot of these guys are just reaping the benefits or the harvest of them being trained and not, and we use that word crazy, a little loosely, submitting, but becoming a protege of someone that's where you want to be. There's a certain gifting and a certain grace that you get from that we look at in the black church as, I'm not going to be punked. I'm not going to be this, because some people have abused it, and they have emasculated men in these positions and labeled them as armor bearers, got them wiping your sweat, tying your shoes. And I hate when I see that stuff. I'm like, yo, bro,
Hey, Jay, let me say
rest
something.
at the crib every day by yourself. Why you got a grown man wiping you down and bending down, tying your shoes? What do you do on Monday when nobody's at your house?
Hey, Jay, let me say something before you go past what you said. And I'm tough on I'm very tough on the Cash App, PayPal, Zelle profit. I can't stand it. But
I'm sending you my Cash App because you're gonna sow into me today.
It's on the way. But here's the problem, and I try not to use too much church, per se, stuff that we say, but I'm gonna say it like this. I think the new enemy of the church is to remove seed time and harvest. Here's the reason why I'm saying it. If I look at those that say, well, in order to be blessed, you have to sow a seed. But these are the knockoffs. See, if the knockoffs are sitting in the forefront, and we know they carry absolutely no fruit, their words mean absolutely nothing. The God is nowhere near attached to their life. It's going to cause now people to say, we're not going to sow seed at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the church is now looked at like, okay, if I don't sow a seed, I can't receive a harvest. That's true.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So we
Right.
cannot necessarily throw away the seed and act like it's just a clown fest. The church just wants your money, or no. It's the Bible is very clear on seed time and harvest. Now, and I'm gonna let you or Kaden, I think we need to have a conversation on why money is the biggest seed you can sow. They're not ready for that conversation.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think if money is the biggest seed that you can sow, I think it's the responsibility of the institution that you sow your money to begin to teach financial literacy. Because what happens is when people understand money, giving money ain't a problem. People that have a problem giving don't understand money, because you understand in order to get, you have to in order to get, you got to release. And the wealthy, they implement the same principle. They just call it philanthropy. They take from their increase, they find an institution that services less than fortunate people or sometimes other wealthy people, but they understand I'm releasing and I'm planting a seed. That's the only reason why I'm looking for more. People that don't understand money will always hoard it. They'll always keep it. They'll always invest in depreciating assets, and they'll live from paycheck to paycheck because they don't understand you only attract what you respect. And when you respect money, you're not out buying $500,000 jeans and you don't have your rent money. You're not using more than 30% of your utilization rate on your credit cards because you understand money. But if people don't know, they're going to be doing crazy stuff like getting a credit card with $1,000 limit, spending it and paying it back, spending it, and you're destroying your credit. Yes, you're paying your bill, but you are over your utilization rate. And most people don't even know what a utilization rate is when it comes to credit.
But my point is, I don't think there's no greater seed that you can give God than money.
I do. Your life.
That money represents your life.
No, it answers all the problems in your life.
No, sir. It represents your life.
Give me some Bible. Read.
Here we go. I can be more logical than spiritual.
Okay.
The average person, even watching this broadcast, right? Just say they may be at work. It's 4:20. They about to get off work. The average person got up today around 6:30, 6 o'clock, and say, I got to be at work at 8 o'clock, right? And I'm going to do an 8-hour to maybe 12-hour shift.
Right.
Get off at 5 o'clock, go home, cook, get myself together, socialize a little bit, make sure I'm in bed by a certain time so I can get up
and do it again
and keep doing. I'm going to school for 4 to 8 years. I dedicated, I'm not gonna say dedicated, but from first grade to 12th grade, doctors and even pastors. At the end of the day, the only reason why we do what we do, Dave Caton don't have that studio in the background. He didn't get all of that to say, I just want to be up here playing my keyboards. We do all of this for the sake of making money. Money completely represents our entire life.
Yeah, so to Tim's point, I understand what he's saying. He's saying the money represented the time and investment that you put in.
Yes. Yes.
So it is a conversion of whatever it is that you do. So you spent 40 hours in the week, it turned into X amount of dollars.
Yes.
So when you give that, that's what that is. But now, Pastor, again, my thing is, if we're going to preach 90% or 100% of the time on the 10th every week, we have to spend time teaching financial literacy. You have to spend time teaching people how to fish. I just don't understand. If you have a strong team, then you're good. But if you're the strongest member or the strongest guy in the room, that's
You're on
not
the wrong team. Yeah.
You know, and so because for church, pastors, are a lot of people's fathers, spiritual godfather, spiritual fairy godfather, all these things, life coach, and all this other mess. So it is to some point a responsibility to teach these things.
Yeah. Because you can't demand that I call you pop or dad, which I have my issues with in church. I think there ought to be some limitations to some of that stuff. But I do know it's different case by case scenarios. I think it is your obligation, if you're going to take the role as father, to do what real fathers do. And real fathers ensure that their children are positioned to be greater than they are. And if I am going to do that, I can't keep you in church 80 hours a week. I can't do it. After I prophesy and proclaim, I have to be the first example of what I've preached and proclaimed. So I can't be telling you God's going to get your credit together and my credit is a 480. I need to be the first partaker of that word. So I would have gone through the process of showing you how to build and maintain good credit.
True.
But that's not what we do. We got people that just know what to say because it's a popular colloquialism in the prophetic. Because you got 300 people in the room, somebody in there with a backache.
True.
Somebody,
Yes.
right. Somebody got high blood pressure. Somebody got diabetes. This stuff is surface. I'm like, listen, let's get past all of this foolish stuff and get to the nitty gritty of teaching people practical lessons and practical application of how to actually change and walk into the manifestation of what's on those pages. Because that's the real problem. People in church, they're frustrated. They dancing and shouting over something that ain't never come because God is not going to release what you're not prepared for.
Wow.
And if you're not faithful over 30%, 30,000, why would I give you 100,000 so you could be a bigger mess and go into deeper debt?
Well,
but
then
I gotta
maybe
teach you how to make that 30-60 because that's what I'm doing.
the
So
needle needs pushed. It needs to be pushed, and that needs to be an important part of the culture. Seeing as this is why I would never disrespect the past, because the old guys or the generations before us, they did have a measure of success. So some of the stuff that they did worked. However, we're in a different climate, and we see some of the, I don't want to say failures, but we see some of the missed opportunities.
Right.
And now it should be, because had some of the older guys told us 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, man, grab these brownstones, they dirt cheap.
Yeah.
That do this, Tim, Caton, and Hendrickson, why don't y'all go buy one of them factories back there by East New York? Grab that for cheap. It's $100,000. Had we known those things, then that $100,000 property right now would be $4 or $5 million.
Yeah.
So I don't understand where there's a lack of prophecy when God never spoke to pastor and told him, grab up all of these cheap brownstones, or go over here and grab. The Bible is all about land.
Yeah, he did. And they did it for themselves. They never, a lot of guys, my Bishop Lindsay is one of the only guys I know that made an attempt to teach us about money. But we were so young, we ain't know what he was talking about. Because Bishop Lindsay was like, I got more money than all these dudes. because when I go to the bank, I borrow my own money. I don't borrow the bank's money because I'm not going to let them. I'm not going to put $1 million in the bank and let them go make the interest on it while I'm not making no money on it. So Bishop Lindsey always borrowed his own money and paid himself back. System, he was talking to us about that in the 80s, but we had no clue what this man was talking about. I understand it now, but I didn't understand it back then. But the majority of older guys, they didn't empower young men like that. They became sugar daddies. I'll take you fishing, but I'll never teach you how to fish. That way I can always submit a need for me in your life. And that's not the mark of good leadership. A good leader always works himself out of a job. Absolutely. I am great at what I do when the people working with me don't need me to do it no more.
Wow.
That's when I'm great. As a pastor, if I can't leave my church for a month and come back and it still be a great church, I'm not building a great church. I'm building a great person. And that's what we see happen when certain leaders die. Their ministries die with them because the ministry was never great. The personality was.
Wow.
And that comes from a selfish mindset, because if I'm getting it, we all know that jealousy is birthed from lack. So if all three of us got 10 million, there's no need for all three of us to be jealous and envious of each other, because we all got it. Now, don't get mad if I take my 10 and make it 50 and you decide to go to the strip club and go to Vegas and gamble your money away. The opportunity to become more was given to you.
Wow.
But that's not what happens, man. And we see a lot of people sitting in ministries jealous and envious of their leader because they're lacking. Because if you had the money, like you said, Dave, would you still be doing what you're doing? It's really so something important to think about, man. But yo, we've been on this for an hour and 28 minutes now. We could keep going, but today's my mom's birthday, and I know she's watching. Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Mom.
I'm on my way to come see you in a few. But I think that this is a conversation that we gotta keep having, because there's such a negative narrative about masculinity, about the church, about Black men that are being perpetuated into the atmosphere, that those of us that are not afraid, because again, a lot of people won't say anything because they're afraid to lose opportunity. But I come from the school of thought, if you don't let me on your stage, I'll build my own. So I'm not playing at kissy with none of these preachers, none of these bishops. Y'all don't ever have to have me at your church. It doesn't matter. I believe in saying what's right and empowering people with the proper information to make a cognizant decision and to get free from cognitive dissonance. We got to free people from that, bro. That's our assignment, to free people from that type of thinking. And it's going to take guys like us. Jesus shook up the world with 12 dudes. So if it's just us three that start having this type of conversation that really aren't afraid, but we doing it with respect and love, I think we can help some people. So absolutely, that's the agenda. I want to say thank you to you guys, and I want to give each of you the floor to have closing remarks, starting with Tim.
I don't really have too much closing remark. I just appreciate you for allowing me to come on. Again, I think it's probably like my second or third
time, more than likely.
Yeah, third time to come on. Again, just being on with Dave. Dave is a legend, a living legend.
Salute, brother.
You know, in my eyes. Hopefully, one day before it's all over, I get a chance. Because you know, people used to say when I was in New York. This is before I met Dave. They used to always call me Dave. They'd be like, they always say, "Do you know?"
I heard about him in town. They said there's a new sheriff in town.
Let me tell you something. I told the people, I said,
he opened up portals in worship. I said,
I told the people, I said, if we ever get in a service and Dave and Tim is on them instruments, just call the ambulance, because I'm passing right out. I'm not even playing with it. I'm just gonna lay out and say, you know what, God, just do what you're gonna do.
Hey, I remember Big June, because remember me and Big June used to come to the church in Queens. And June used to be like, you sure you don't know Dave Caden? Like, no.
Y'all sound just alike. Y'all do. I ain't gonna lie. Y'all sound alike.
And so, I didn't even know Big June was on here. There go June.
What up, Big June?
Yeah, so man, again, it's an honor. You know, when Jay, how we roll.
Yeah.
Whenever you need me, I'm there. And so, again,
appreciate it, bro. Now to my son in the gospel.
Well, may the Lord watch.
Oh no, ain't no thieves on here. we don't pray that prayer over here. That's a prayer between thieves.
Right. Well, I mean, again, salute to Jay and Tim as well. You guys are incredible in what you're doing. One of the reasons why I consented with my brother Jay to do this is because I really realized that perception unchallenged can definitely become someone's reality. And
wow.
if we don't challenge certain narratives that's going out there, it'll become reality. And so just to be able to get on here, and I know we couldn't get as deep as we needed to, but to be able to get on and speak to some of the issues and try to at least be solution based, or just share, something kind of like the inside of our conversations. This is almost like a sit down reunion.
Right. Right.
These are the founding members of the sit down.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
And so, I'm glad. I'm happy to be a part, and prayerfully we can take some things away from what's going on. Let's be mindful of what we're doing. Let's be mindful of the image that we put out clearly. And definitely in closing, pastors, you have to be vigilant. You have to take this stuff seriously now, because unfortunately, church is looked at as a soft target. So all the dancing, shouting, we can argue about CCM and this and that and the third, but we have to protect our most valuable assets, our women and our children. And so that's something that we really need to take seriously, and how we're going to do that and prepare for that. So I just wanted to, I'm glad to be able to be part to share on that wise, Pastor. And, we need to do it again where we can have some stuff that you really want to get off your chest and ask the tough questions. And I think Tim and I really don't care. So we down for whatever.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. I think this was absolutely necessary. And to everyone that has been watching what's going on social media, I'm a big pusher of, respecting those shoulders that we're standing on. Bishop Jakes and all the guys that we looked up to. I don't think we need to brush them to the side. I think they are still absolutely 1,000% necessary to guide us and to be that voice of wisdom, not just Bishop Jakes, but even some of our local pastors that have been pastoring successfully for years now. I think we need to take advantage of the time that we have exposure to them and allow them to pour into us. And, to all of our beautiful Black sisters, we want you to know that we honor you. We salute you. Again, not equal to us does not mean not important. Yeah. We can't do this thing without y'all. Mm-hmm. And any smart man knows that the woman is the one that holds the family together anyway. So you automatically have a high place of honor, a high place of necessity in our eyes and our lives, period. And again, like Dave said, to all the pastors and definitely to Bishop Lamar Whitehead and his family, our prayers go out to you guys. We pray that however this plays out, that you all will be safe and that the will of God will be done in this. Again, it's very unfortunate, but we pray that all pastors, including myself, I have a meeting with the 81st Precinct this week because I'm going to start having police presence back in my services again, because I did get lackadaisical. I did get comfortable. with it. And you know, we just gotta do what we gotta do. But I just pray that all pastors will begin to take this serious, because again, whether it's real or not, there are always copycats, and you don't want to become one that is a victim of something that goes really bad, because it could have went bad with Bishop Whitehead, and thank God nobody got physically hurt. So we definitely gonna hold them up. But this is Kingdom Conversations, y'all. And again, to my brothers, I appreciate y'all. I love and honor both of you. We laugh and joke a lot, but these two are some of, you know, these are my go-to guys. When something happens, I'm on the phone with both of them. What you think? So that's why I wanted to do this conversation with them. So we love y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. To everybody in the comment section, everybody online, thank y'all so much. We was going to do the call in. I see my dad. I see Big June. I see Nakia. Everybody else that was in the comment section, thank you so much. But we'll probably do a part two somewhere later on, you know, down the line. But until then, make sure you tune in. Make sure you get Dave. I'm gonna put him on the spot. He got this song coming out, Tim, called "Stop This Train." Listen to me. Listen to me. All y'all that's on here, it's not gospel. It's rock and roll. That's what my mother.
CCM rock and roll.
It's CCM rock and roll. But I promise you, it's hands down one of the greatest songs I've ever heard in my life. And I'm not just saying that because he's on here and that's my son in the Lord. And I can hear my lyrical influence in verse 2, especially in verse 2. But seriously, he has an amazing plethora of songs that's getting ready to drop, and we're gonna push him to let go of it, because Dave is sitting on a gold mine of songs. Some that he and I have written together, some that he's written by himself, but some incredible music. Look out for what Tim is doing. Tim is always doing something great, always doing something interesting down there in Florida. You like living down there, bro?
Oh man, I should have been here.
Wow. I need to come down there. Make sure you still walking precept upon precept.
Hey, I need to actually come back. I need to actually do a Kingdom Conversation on another time, because I used to hear some speculation why Tim is in Florida too.
Lord Jesus, you on the run?
That's what I heard. I heard I was on the run.
Lord Jesus. Well, let y'all let me know how much the ransom is, and I'll let y'all know if I'll turn him in, because I got his address. But y'all got to pay me 6 figures or more, and then I'll bail him out. Then we'll be all right. Y'all, I love y'all, man. Thank y'all for tuning in, man.
All right, brother.
All right, y'all. Be later. Yo, that was my guys, Tim Clinton, Dave, Kate, and we went way beyond our time. But I pray that you guys were empowered. I pray that you guys were enlightened. And most of all, that it made you take a personal look at yourself, at where you are in life general, because I really believe that we are a generation that will get much further if we practice honoring the ones that have gone before us, and just be patient, exercise patience, because what's for you is really for you. Can't nobody stop you. You are unstoppable. I say it every week. The only person that can stop you from becoming who you've been called and created to be is you. And if you get it right up here, that makes you unstoppable. So I love you guys for tuning in. This has been another episode of Kingdom Conversations with your boy, Pastor Jay. And we will be back next week with another exciting episode. Make sure you tune in. God bless. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace. Oh, happy birthday to my mom again. Everybody, y'all just please wish my mom a happy birthday. I think she's 76 today. 76 years young. Amen. In the fireball. She's actually my assistant pastor. So we love you, Mom. And we'll make sure that you read everybody's birthday wishes to you. All right, y'all. Y'all be good. Kingdom Conversations. We out. Peace.